Hi, in this video lesson, I'm going to show you how to read a histogram. Well, before we get into that, we just need to look at a little bit of vocabulary. You're probably looking at this and guessing that this is the definition of a histogram. Just a special kind of bar graph that's going to display frequency, and we're going to talk about frequency in just a little bit, of the data that has been organized into equal intervals. And then my next piece of vocab here is the number of times an event occurs. That's that little word called frequency that I just talked about. And then I have some things about a histogram. So a histogram is used to display numerical data. We're going to organize it in equal intervals. And like I said earlier, is a special type of bar graph. So if it's a bar graph, we're going to have an x-axis, we're going to have a y-axis. Generally speaking, our x-axis is going to have 5 to 7 equal-sized intervals, and they do not overlap. And then the y-axis is going to display the frequency, the number of times that each one of those items occurs. So let's use that information to help us read this bar graph here. So we have a boss that goes out, surveys his employees, wants to know how long does it take you to get to work. And all these all the employees responded, and this is the results. So I have some questions here to help us read and interpret this bar graph. The first one is, how many employees completed the survey? So in order to calculate that, we just have to go in there and figure out how many employees are in each one of the bars. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to look at this first bar that goes from 0 to actually goes to 19. The 20 is a part of the second bar. So I look at this and it comes up here to 6. So that tells me that there are 6 people in this one. My next bar comes up here to 8. So there are 8 people in, that one. This next bar, that one's kind of in the middle, notice. So that's telling me that it's coming up to, there'll be 5 people in that one. Then there's this spot here where there's no bar. This has 0. Most people, I think, would figure that out. And then the next bar, there's 4 in this one, and then this one's in between the 0 and the 2, so there's 1. Now, if I want to know the total number of people who surveyed, I just take those numbers, the 6, the 8, the 5, I'm not going to write down the 0, the 4, the 1. I add them all together, we end up with 14, 19, 23, and there are 24 employees who answered the survey. Now, there could be more employees at the business, but 24 of them answered the survey and are in the data. Now, the next one asks, how many employees get to work in less than 20 minutes? Less than 20 minutes would tell me, 19, 18, 17, something like that. So then I just come up here and I look at this first interval right here. That one, remember, goes from 0 all the way up to 19. The 20 here is in the next bar. So if I want to know how many made it in less than 20 minutes, well, my answer would be 6. How many employees get to work in less than 40 minutes? Now, less than 40 minutes. So now we're still going to need all of the 6 from the first bar, because all of those get to work in less than 40 minutes. And then I'm going to get the second bar that's going to have people that get to work in less than 40 minutes, because those are all the ones that went from 20 to 39 technically, because remember again, the 40 here would be in the next bar. So 6 plus 8 would put us at 14. Get to work in less than 40 minutes. I should probably be labeling mine. This would be employees. And this one would be employees. Then we get on to no, it's not the last question I have here. Number 4, though, how many employees take over an hour to get to work? So over an hour, 60 minutes or more, or actually more than 60 minutes. Well, there's nobody here, but these 4 people in the first little box there and the 1 in the second little box there, they all take more than 1 hour to get to work. So I would say the 4 plus 1 puts me at 5 employees take more than an hour to get to work. And now, last but not least, what is the longest drive an employee has to get to work? Now, I'm going to interpret this where it says longest as length. how far, how many miles is it to work? So if that's the case, I look up here and I go, do I know how many miles these employees drive to get to work? That I don't, because all I know is the time. It says minutes to work here, but it doesn't tell me in length. So technically, I cannot answer this question. I'm going to put not enough information to answer that question. We could make some guesses based off of the drive time, but there's no way of actually answering that one. Now let's get on to this one. This one asks us how many months had 6 or more days of rain. So we got a histogram here. It says days of rain each month is our title. We have the frequency on the left, and we have the number of days on the bottom, and we see that we have a bar that's 0 to 1, 2 to 3, so on and so forth. So if we want to know how many months had 6 or more days of rain, well, we're going to come here and we're going to look at, that would be this one and this one. And I see that this bar has 3 in it. This bar has 1 in it. Well, 3 plus 1 equals 4 days. It had 6 or more days of rain. Oh, no, I labeled that wrong, not days. Sorry about that. How about, let's try this again. How about 4 months had 6 or more days of rain? There we go. That's better. Now, on this one, we have 2 questions. First one asks, how many months had 5 or fewer days of snow? So I come up here, 5 or fewer. So that would be this one, and this one. The first one has 6 in it. The second one has 1, and the third one has 1. So I just take 6 plus 1 plus 1, and I end up with 8 months. Had 5 or fewer days of snow. And then the next one has, what interval is for exactly 2 months? Exactly 2 months. So then I'm going to come over along the frequency side, and I'm going to come to number 2. I'm going to follow that across. Well, here's the one right here that has exactly 2 months in it. I asked what interval? Well, it would be the 6 to 7 days of snow interval. This one wants us to determine which test had a greater number of students scoring 86 or higher. So we have these 2 different tests. I have no idea what the tests are about, but we do know that there are 2 tests and we have scores on them. So I want to know which one has the greater number of students scoring 86 or higher. I'm going to look at my first one right here. About all of those in that bar are going to be 86 or higher, this one and this one as well. So now I just have to look at those totals. So I look at this one, this bar in between the 4 and 8, I'm going to say that that has to be 6. This one's coming up in between the 12 and the 16, so we have 14 there. And then this bar is right on the 4. So I just have to add all those up. 6 plus 14 plus 4 is going to put us at 24 students. If I come over to my other one, now I need to get the 86 or higher. So here, here, and here. 6 in that one, 16 in this one. Oh, I don't need this one. Sorry about that. Struggling. And then we have this one. That one would be 6. And then last but not least, this one's 4. So now I add those up. 16 plus 6 plus 4. That puts us at 26. So I answer the question, determine which test had a greater number of students scoring 86 or higher. The answer would be test 2. This one we want to go the other way. Which test had a greater number of students scoring below 60? So we got to get below 60. So sometimes we look here and we see the 60 right here, but that would tell us that every person in this bar here had a 60 or higher. So we don't want those, we just want this one and this one. So we have 2 in each of those, 2 plus 2 puts us at 4. We'll come over here to this one. We need it out of these two. So this one has 1 in it, and this one has 4 in it. And 1 plus 4 puts us at 5. So which test had a greater number of students scoring 60 or lower? Again, it's test 2. And that's going to conclude my video on interpreting reading histograms.